In this question, we have a teacher who needs chalks for 175 days. On any single day, she uses 5/6 of a chalk and leaves behind 1/6 of the chalk. And 6 such chalks she joins together to make a full chalk. So the question is, how many chalks should she order? Now, in this question, let me start with a number that is divisible by 6. So suppose she had ordered 144 chalks. She would have used them for 144 days. She would have got 144 pieces, which would have ended up becoming 24 full chalks, which she would have used for 24 days. She would have got 24 pieces, that would have become 4 full chalks, and she would have used for 4 days. She is left with 4 small chalks now. So she needs 2 small chalks to complete this. By the way, she has used chalks for 172 days. So what she needs is 2 small chalks to complete 1 chalk and 2 full chalks to tide over the requirement for 175 days. So had she ordered 2 full chalks, she would have used them for 2 more days, and the 2 small pieces she would have got joined with the previous 4 chalks would have made 1 full chalk, which she would have used for 1 more day, and hence she would have used chalks for 175 days. But at the end of it, only 1/6 of the chalk is left. Hence the minimum number of chalks that she has to order is 146. We are looking at 5-digit numbers such that the condition is the numbers that are in the even places must be even and the numbers that are in the odd places must be odd. So first let's fill the odd places. The number of ways of taking 3 different odd numbers to fill the odd places is 5p3, where all the 3 different numbers are used and arranged in the odd places. Now suppose we take 2 of the numbers that are identical. So to choose 2 distinct numbers, there are 5c2 ways, and then these numbers can be arranged in 3 factorial by 2 factorial ways into 2 such cases. To clarify this point, imagine you choose the number 5c2 as 1 and 2, and so the cases that you will get, the 2 cases that you will get is 1 2 2, 1 1 2, and these 1 2 2 can be arranged in 3 factorial by 2 factorial, and 1 1 2 can also be arranged in 3 factorial by 2 factorial ways. So that's how we get this term. This multiplied by the number of ways of arranging numbers in the even positions. So that would be 5p2, where both of them are different, plus 5c1 into only one way. So we have this is 25 and this number here is 120. Hence in all, the total number of ways is 120 into 25, that is equal to 3000. Hence there are 3000 such 5-digit numbers that are possible. In this question, we want to find the maximum value of p minus q, which means let's look at the maximum value of p and minimum value of q. And we know that p is equal to x squared y by z. So the minimum value of z would be 1. The denominator is minimum. That kind of tries to maximize the modulus value. And we want to find the maximum value of x squared y, in which case let's take all of them as positive. So that is, we'll get 9 into 2, that is equal to 18. 18 is the largest possible value that you can get for p. Whereas q now is xy squared by z. I would still take the denominator as least and take the maximum negative value that is possible of the numerator, which will be equal to minus 3 into y squared. Y squared is 4. So the minimum value of q now will becomes minus 12. Hence, when we are finding p minus q, we find the value is equal to 30, which is the largest difference that you can find out between p and q. The question is simple. We have got a rectangle here, and we have been given side AB as 14, PC as 9, and then PB as 15. So by using Pythagoras theorem, we can say that this BC must be equal to 12. If BC is equal to 12, this is 12, so this got to be 5, hence this would be 13, AP would be 13. So effectively, if you look at the sides, AP is equal to 13, BP is equal to 15 and AB is equal to 14. Hence, the largest angle is going to be angle alpha, the next would be beta, and the next would be gamma. So this is the appropriate answer, alpha greater than beta greater than gamma. Hence the correct answer is D. In this question, we have got the stakes of the government in 5 different companies whose number of equity shares is given in this column, and the market price as on July 27th is given in the third column here. Now, the government has decided to disinvest 20% in BEL and 25% in BML. So, which implies, if we look at the number of shares owned by the government, which is 75% of 8 crores, which is 6 crores, and it's going to disinvest 20% of 6 crores, that is 1.2 crores. In BML, likewise, the government owns 60% of 3.64 crores, 60% of 3.64 crores, which implies it's going to disinvest 0.6 into 3.64 into 1 by 4. So many crore shares. The market prices of these two shares was rupees 60 and rupees 15 respectively. So the total revenues that the government would get would be 72 crores here, and in this case it will be 0.6 into 3.64 into 15 by 4, which is approximately equal to 8 crores. Hence the appropriate answer to this question is A. In this question, the government owns 66.7% of 30 crore shares, and the current market price is 175. So the holding of the government is approximately equal to 2/3 of 30 crores, and had the government sold it at 175 instead of the 125, it got 50 rupees more for each share, and this approximately is equal to 1000 crores more. Hence the appropriate answer is B. In this question, we have been told that the price of BCL fell to 300 on July 28th, and we know that on July 27th it was 300 rupees. We also know that the government owns 80% of 1.515 crores. And the government's stake is 80% of 1.515 crore shares. So the net value reduction of the government shares is 80% of 1.515 into 50 rupees, which is equivalent to saying 40 into 1.515, or approximately equal to 60 crores. So if you look at the choice, C is the most appropriate option. This question of modulus can be easily sorted out using number line. Among the choices, choice C is anyway out because x greater than or equal to minus infinity is a wrong option, because whenever we use plus infinity or minus infinity, we do not bring the equality into picture. So choice C is out. Choice D is x is equal to 0 and all numbers to the left of x is equal to 0. Choice B is to the left of x is equal to 0 till x is equal to minus 1.5. So minus 1.5 is also included, whereas choice A is all numbers to the left of minus 1.5. This is A, this is B, and this is C. So x is equal to 0 is not there in choices A and B. So I would first check with x is equal to 0 whether this satisfies the range or not. So if I put x is equal to 0, my left hand side becomes modulus of minus 1 minus modulus of 0 plus modulus of 3, which is equal to 4. And my right hand side becomes 4. Since my left hand side is greater than or equal to my right hand side, by virtue of the equality sign, x is equal to 0 must be a part of the range. Hence D has to be the correct answer. This is a very simple question. Now we have x greater than y greater than 0. And we know that the expression that we are going to get will be something of the form x by y to the power of either x minus y or y minus x. So if I take y minus x, we know that what is inside this is greater than 1, hence, but y minus x is less than 0, hence you will find that this will be less than 1. The same thing if you look at x by y to the power of x minus y, you will find that x by y, since x is greater than y, this is greater than 1 and this is greater than 0, hence you find that this expression here will be greater than 1. So among the choices that we see that the choice C, when simplified, gives you x to the power of x minus y by y to the power of x minus y. The left hand side is this, which is equal to x by y to the power of x minus y. And we know that this has to be greater than 1. Hence appropriate option is C. In this question, we have to find out whether the two triangles are congruent. Both triangles are right angle triangles does not give enough information about condition for congruency. Both triangles have same perimeters. It doesn't tell us anything about the two triangles, whether congruent, similar, or we don't have any other information. So this cannot be true. If we combine both the statements, even then we could have two triangles which are not congruent but have the same perimeter and both are right angle triangles. Hence, even using both the statements, we cannot say whether the statement is whether the triangles are congruent or not. Hence, the appropriate answer is D. If n is an integer, then n is divisible by how many positive integers? So let's look at the first statement. The first statement is n is a product of two different prime numbers. So obviously, if it's a product of two different prime numbers p1 and p2, the number of factors it will have will be equal to 4. Hence, this statement alone can give you the answer. If n and 23 are divisible by the same number of integers, 23 is a prime number. So we know that 23 is divisible only by two numbers 1 and 23. N is divisible by only two numbers, which implies n also to be a prime number. Hence we can say that this statement also tells us how many prime numbers, how many factors n has. Hence each statement independently is giving us the answer. So the correct answer is B. Here we have m is equal to this a cube minus 1 from the first statement and n is equal to a cube plus 1 from the first statement. Irrespective of what is the nature of value of a, we'll find that n is always greater than m. Hence statement 1 tells us that n is greater than m. Now let's go to statement 2. Statement 2 says m is equal to a into n. or m by n is equal to a. We have been told that a is greater than 1 and both m and n are positive. So we can say that m by n is greater than 1, and since both m and n are positive, we can conclude that m is greater than n. So each statement independently is giving us the condition that in one case n is less than m and in other case n is more than m. Hence each statement independently gives us the answer. The correct answer is B. Here we have a tank which has got two outlets. Let's call this outlet as D1 and there's another outlet here, D2. There are two drains at the bottom. If D1 is open and D2 closed, D1 open and D2 closed, the tank takes 15 minutes to empty. So it essentially tells you that D1 will take 15 minutes to empty the tank. If D1 is closed and D2 is opened, it takes 20 minutes to empty the full tank. So we know from the first statement that D2 will take 20 minutes to empty the tank. So using the first statement along with the original information, we can find out how much time will it take D1 and D2 together to empty the tank. So first statement gives us the answer. The second statement is the amount of water that flows through D1 in 3 minutes is the same as the amount of water that flows through D2 in 4 minutes. So we can say that D1 is 4 by 3 times as efficient as D2. Hence, you will find that if D1 takes 15 minutes, D2 will take 20 minutes to empty the tank. So statement 2 also gives us the information that D2 takes 20 minutes to empty the tank. Hence, each one independently gives us the answer. So the correct answer is B. In this question we know that Ram gets 5 points, and if he picks a red card and if he picks a yellow card, he gets 3 points. So we can uniquely find out how many cards he would have of yellow and red, given the fact that he had 9 cards and he had 41 points. So we can actually find out that he has, for example, had he had all the 9 red cards, he would have had 45 points. And since he is actually having 41 points, which means he must sacrifice 2 red cards for yellow cards. So effectively he has 7 red and 2 yellow in order to have 41 points. There is no other combination that gives him 41 points. Hence, statement 1 can uniquely give us the answer. Statement 2 does not tell us anything, because game could be won if somebody gets 50 points, and that could be done in many possible ways. Hence, statement 2 cannot give us the answer. Hence, the correct answer is A. So in this question we have been asked, when was the land utilization the minimum? So to find out land utilization for each of these years, we have to find out the total area divided by the production. So area under paddy plus area under wheat in 1967 was 5,100 hectares, and then in tons it was 362,000. So I will break it down to numbers that make it a little easier for us to work with. So I'll write it as 51 by 36 into some factor, right? So just watch what I'm doing, how I'm going to compare. So in 1968 it is 5,400 by 408,500. I'm writing this as 54 by 41. Because I see the choices are fairly far apart, I am able to do this approximation. And for 69 it is 5625, 463700, or I'll write it as 56 by 46. And then we have 5900 490 350. So I have 59 by 49. So I am now going to compare only these factors, right, and find out which of these is the least. So we can see this is almost 1.4 times approximately. This is less than 1.4 times. In fact, this is close to about 1.3 times, and this is between 1.2 and 1.3, 1.2 plus. And if you compare these two, 56 by 46 and 59 by 49, there's an increase of 3 in the denominator, increase of 3 in the numerator. Hence, this expression, since it is a improper fraction that is greater than 1, you'll find that 59 by 49 is going to be less than 56 by 46. Hence, among these four choices, the choice D is going to be the least. So let's find out the yield of wheat in 1965. In 1965, the yield of wheat was 182,000 tons divided by 2,600 hectares. That's approximately equal to 700 tons per hectare, or actually exactly equal to 700 tons per hectare. Now in 1969, the yield is 1000 tons per hectare, which is how we get it, 3025,000 tons divided by 3025. So from 700 tons per hectare, it has moved to 1000 tons per hectare, which is approximately equal to 40% increase. So the closest choice here is choice B, hence the correct answer is B. In this question, we have been given that the acreage of paddy has gone up by 5% and the production has gone up to 1,75,000. So we have 175, 123, 2700 into 1.05 as the yield in 1971, and yield in 1970 is 168,750 divided by 2700. So if we find out the ratio 1970, that simplifies to 1.05 into 168.75. This approximates to 175 by 177. So you can see there is a drop of about 1% in the, hence the appropriate answer is C. So there's a drop of 1.2% in the yield of paddy in 1971 vis-a-vis that in 1970.
Hello and welcome to the analysis of the CAT Proctored Mock 1 new pattern. My name is Stephen and you'll be hearing my voice as we go through a detailed discussion of how this mock test should have been tackled. To begin with, I feel that CAT can well be nicknamed the chameleon for the way it changes colors. And the newest shade we've all been witnessing is the change to the 100 question pattern with 35 questions in the verbal ability section, along with the freedom now to move between sections, move back and forth between sections. So what exactly do these changes spell out? For starters, you will benefit from the ability to jump between sections, enabling you to play on your strengths. This is why there is a need to use the new mock tests to determine your strengths and use them to your advantage. Additionally, 50 questions in each section means that the likelihood of your being tested on diverse topics has increased. This is another area where you will find the new mocks beneficial, since in this mock 1, and the forthcoming mock tests, you will experience a variety of questions which have been consistent with CAT over the recent years, including word usage, different types of sentence correction questions, cloze test, and so on and so forth. Now, apart from testing core competency, the new CAT will definitely also measure you on time management. Having taken this first proc mock, you must have surely felt the pinch of lesser time on your hands. This, combined with the apprehension about the kinds of questions, means that you will have to be extremely adaptive and be ready to pan out a strategy not only before but even during the test, as you now have more questions to choose from. Stamina becomes more important, and you will need to be able to focus and perform at your peak for 3 hours. Moving on, if I could give you a breakup of section 2, which included the verbal ability questions, there were a total of 35 VA questions, and this is the breakup. We had 5 RCs, 2 of which had 4 questions and 3 had 3 questions each. There were 3 questions based on fill in the blanks with 2 blanks each. There were 2 word usage questions, 3 para-completion questions, 3 para-jumble questions, 2 questions of para-jumbles, the one in which you have to pick up the odd sentence out, 3 questions of sentence correction, which meant you needed to know your grammar, and 2 questions from homonyms. So getting on with the analysis, let's turn our attention to the verbal part and come up to question number 51 of mock test 1. Now, as far as para-completion questions are concerned, it is vital to draw out the theme and tone of the text in order to guess the continuation of the given passage. This particular text or passage that was given to you was about Ansel Adams, a very famous photographer, and his love for the wilderness as well as for photography. The passage says that the wilderness was his passion, while it calls photography his raison d'etre or reason for living. So, any sentence that would continue as a part of the given text would obviously contain essences of both. The answer to this question was option B, which read, "There is a vast amount of true and truly protected wilderness in America, much of it captured in the works of Adams and his colleagues." Now, why was this the answer? As I mentioned earlier, that this particular option contains the essence of both the phrases wilderness as well as the works of Adams and his colleagues, which means photography. Do note that the passage says that Adams never made a creative photograph for environmental purposes. Now, option A, which reads, "Adams was an unremitting activist for the cause of the environment and this activism heavily influenced his photography," contradicts that Adams never made a creative photograph for environmental purposes, and hence it does not fit with the given paragraph. Option B fits the theme of the text, which talks of the wilderness in America, which Adams photographed. Option C, don't you think that it goes off track and talks of Adams' influence? Similarly, option D is incorrect too, since it starts to talk about and shifts the focus from wilderness to environmentalism and its association with Adams' photography. Question 52, again a para-completion question, was clearly about a film. A basic reading of the paragraph would have helped you to decipher at least that much. Now, pay close attention to the phrases "final sequences" and "at the end" in the passage, which point out to the fact that the final scenes or the scenes at the end of the film are being discussed here. The only option that continues on this note of discussing endings is option A, which reads, "There hasn't been as satisfying a film ending for youngsters since Lassie came home." Now, in this sentence, the author presents a conclusion stating that the film had a satisfying ending, something not experienced since Lassie came home. Now, even if you did not know who or what Lassie is, you could have paid attention to the point where it says Lassie coming home, which paralleled Elsa returning for a reunion, which is mentioned there in the paragraph. And this is what helps you to mark option A as the answer. Why are the other options not considered? Option B is a generic abstract statement that does not connect to the paragraph in question. It says, for us, it's a poignant but happy reminder of the beauty and mystery of the bond between wild animals. It has no relation to the paragraph. Option C is incorrect since it does not connect to the theme, which, as we discussed before, was the ending of a film. For your information, this film is named Born Free and deals with lions in the wild. The paragraph talks of a film about a lioness, but this option talks of the plight of the people and therefore can be negated. Option D similarly can be negated since it says that the film avoided sentimentality. Please pay close attention to the text, where the paragraph states, on the other hand, that the movie contained scenes of horror and sadness and sentimentality. This makes option A the correct answer, and we move on to question number 53. Question 53 was an FIB, a fill in the blank question with 2 blanks. The text reads, kudos to you for having broken in that, and there's a blank, young stallion and ensuring your permanent employment as a rider who can tame such dash animals. Now, the phrases breaking in and tame, along with the use of the word stallion, present a picture of a young male horse being trained. So it's obvious that both the blanks will need words which are synonymous or mean the same and describe the nature of a wild, untamed young horse. Option A uses one appropriate word, which is brazen, but then falls short since passionate is not a word that you would use for a wild horse. Option B uses words peevish and uncouth. Peevish here means moody and uncouth means crude or unrefined. Both words are inappropriate in this context. Option D is incorrect since it uses bountiful, which means generous, an adjective that you'd hardly use or would be suitable for a wild horse in the given context. Now, the correct answer, which is option C, uses the word fractious, which means irritable, and quarrelsome, and stubborn, which would both go for the horse and are appropriate in this context. Questions 54 to 57 belonged to the first passage in the mock. It is noteworthy that the test had a total of 5 passages, and so you needed to be decisive and choose the number of passages that you would have gone ahead with. With this mock, I feel that with passages 2, 3, 4 and 5, these would have been a safe bet owing to their topics and question types. Do keep in mind, friends, that CAT has reduced the available time per question from 140 seconds to 102 seconds, which implies that you require a higher reading speed despite the fact that in recent years CAT has had a preference for passages with shorter length. This passage was about famous German philosopher Nietzsche and his very infamous, I should say, declaration in his 1882 book, The Gay Science, where he declared that God is dead. It also deals with the author's interpretation of whether Nietzsche is a nihilist or not. Here, nihilism, as you might know, and even as the passage suggests, refers to the belief that nothing has objective meaning and purpose. Now, if you turn to question number 54, the question here reads, as I will, which of the following statements can be inferred from the passage? It was clearly a question on inference. Now, the correct answer to question number 54 is option D. Please pay attention to the part in the passage where it states that many of us agree and are quite comfortable with the fact that the universe lacks objective meaning and purpose. However, the masses are not so content with these facts, and most require faith and external authority to get them through the human condition. Now, option D in the question read, though the universe may lack objective meaning, most people cannot get through human life without faith and external authority. This is why option D is the correct answer, since this particular option is supported or can be inferred from the text. The passage does not say at all that people hold Nietzsche responsible for God's death. Hence, option A, which says that people do hold Nietzsche responsible for God's death, is not correct. Similarly, the passage states that we no longer have ultimate faith in God and that our true faith is in scientific and technological progress. But even then, it does not state the fact that faith in scientific and technological progress is the thing that has led to people's faith in God or has killed people's faith in God. So this makes option B the wrong option. Similarly, the passage states that the cosmos is purposeless, that the universe in its entirety is purposeless, but it does not say that scientific discoveries, for instance, those mentioned, there was mention of Galileo and Copernicus. So scientific discoveries of Galileo and Copernicus, these have made the cosmos purposeless. This is not mentioned in the passage. Hence, option C, which reads that the discovery of a massive universe contradicts our belief that we are God's special creation, is also the incorrect answer. Moving on to question number 55. Option C is the correct answer here. The question reads, the author of the passage is least likely to agree with which of the following statements? Now, option C is the correct answer because the passage only states that Nietzsche, like his pessimistic predecessor, whose name was Arthur Schopenhauer, had great appreciation for the aesthetics. It does not, however, state that he, which is Nietzsche, like his predecessor Schopenhauer, was a pessimist. So, while it says that Nietzsche had great appreciation for the aesthetics, the passage does not clearly state Nietzsche to be a pessimist himself. The passage also states that one must be careful not to mistake Nietzsche for a nihilist, because all he was saying is that both supernatural belief and superficial values imposed by the church have proven only to shackle humanity's mind, and as time goes on, these things will be shown to be fatuous. Hence, option B is supported by the passage. Similarly, options A and D also follow from the text given in the passage. The only option, hence, which is the correct answer and does not follow from the passage, or as the question says, would the author of the passage would least likely agree with, is option C. In question number 56, the question wanted to know the author's purpose behind writing the passage, and it provided you with 4 options to choose from. The correct answer here is option A. The passage states that Nietzsche predicted that nihilism would be the wave of the future. Option A clearly follows from this, as it reads, to explain that Nietzsche prophesied that nihilism would be the trend in the future. Hence, this is the correct answer. Option B, which reads, to illustrate Nietzsche's contribution in combating the belief in science and technology pervading the postmodern world, is not supported by the passage. See, the passage does not at all state that Nietzsche attempted to combat belief in science and technology. He just said that these would sooner or later fade away in the future. Options C and D are also not supported by the passage, because the author only presents Nietzsche's claims in the passage. He does not attempt to forecast or prove anything. This is why, again, option A is the answer. In question number 57, the question reads, which of the following statements is best supported by the passage? Now, the passage states, and please pay attention to that part where it reads, the new image of merely human beings is ignoble. We are but one species among millions struggling to survive, descendants of some primordial ooze. Option A follows from this as it reads, we are merely a speck in this colossal universe, one among millions of species. Option B contradicts the idea where the passage says that the full extent of the dethronement of God is not yet felt by the great masses, who still believe that they believe in God. Option B, which reads, the masses have rejected the idea of God in supernatural order. Now, this is a clear contradiction of the text in the passage. Hence, we cannot take option B to be the answer. The last line of the first paragraph states that belief in God hinders the survival of the species. The passage does not at all state that the sense of emptiness hinders the survival of the species. Option C is therefore not supported by the passage. Option D contradicts the idea mentioned in the passage, since option D reads, Darwin's evolutionary discovery proves that humans are the chosen species fit to survive in the vast cosmos. Actually, there is a mention of this idea, but option D contradicts the particular idea in the passage. So that is why we cannot take it to be the right answer.
Okay, this question talks about 7 jungles A, B, C, D, E, F and G, which had either 2 or 3 animals from among Jakura, Fatura, Jathura and Tandura. First of all, what we will try to gather the primary or the direct information given from the question. For that, we'll prepare a table in which the rows will have the jungles like this: A, B, C, D, E, F and G, and the columns will have the 4 animals which are Jakura. I'll just write the first 3 letters of the name of the animal: Fatura, Jathura and Tandura. What I'll do, whichever animal is present in whichever jungle, I'll put a tick there. If that animal is not present in a particular jungle, I'll put a cross there, and if the animal is dominant in that jungle, I'll round off that tick mark. Also, we need to figure out whether our jungle has 2 animals or 3 animals. Directly going to statement 4, it says Jakura, which was not present in D, was the dominant animal of G. That means Jakura was not present in D. So in D, I'll put a cross, and it was the dominant animal of G. That means it was present in G. So Jakura was present in D and it was dominant also. I've rounded off that tick mark. Fifth statement says that Tandura, which was not present in G, was the dominant animal of E. Tandura was not present in G. He was the dominant animal of E. A tick mark and a round. Jathura was not present in E. Jathura was not present in E. Fine. The sixth statement says that Fatura, which was present in F, along with Jakura and Jathura, was the most dominant animal of F. That means Fatura is the most dominant animal of F. We have got 3 animals for jungle F. That means Tandura is not present here. Fine. So this jungle has 3 animals. Go to statement 8. No 2 jungles out of A, B and D had the same dominant animal. Again, the number of animals in each of B and C was 2. B and C, there were 2 animals, and that in E was 3. E, there were 3 animals. We already know that Jathura is not present. That means Jakura, Fatura and Tandura must be present in E. So this is the situation for E. Now, go to statement 1. No 2 jungles out of the 7 had the same set of animals. If I compare F and G, the possibility that F and G can have is G can have 3 animals. If G has all the 3 animals, then the set of animals in F and G will become same. So that means G cannot have 3 animals. That means G will have 2 animals. We know that one animal is Jakura. The other could be now either Fatura or Jathura. Now go to statement 3. In all those jungles in which there were exactly 2 animals and Jathura was one of them, Jathura was the dominant animal. Now if I consider the set of Jakura and Jathura in G, jungle G, it is not possible as Jakura is the dominant animal, but as per our condition Jathura should be there. So this is not possible. Jathura is not present in G. So the only possibility is Jakura and Fatura were present in jungle G. Now come back to statement 8. No two jungles out of A, B and D had the same dominant animal. And in statement 2, the number of jungles in which Jathura, Jakura and Fatura were present was the same. Each of these 3 animals was dominant from exactly 2 jungles. Jakura, Jathura and Fatura, these 3, the first 3 in the column, they were dominant in exactly 2 jungles. And that means Tandura was present in exactly 1 jungle. We have already got the jungle in which Tandura was dominant. Tandura was dominant in jungle E. Now out of A, B and D, all 3 had different dominant animal. Now we have got Jakura as dominant of G, Fatura as dominant of F. That means in A, B and D, the 3 dominant animals have to be Jakura, Fatura and Jathura. The only possibility, not necessarily in the same order. Who is the dominant animal of C? As of now, we have only one jungle where Jathura is dominant, and we know that Jathura should be dominant from exactly 2 jungles. That means Jathura should be present in jungle C and should be dominant. So Jathura is present and dominant from jungle C. Now again Jathura should be dominant from 2 jungles. Fine. So the only possibility where Jathura can be dominant is jungle B because it has 2 animals. So it will go like this. As of now, we don't know where other animals, what all other animals are present in B and C. Now from the current scenario, it is clear that D has 3 animals and A also has 3 animals. We know that Jakura is not present in D. That means Fatura is present, Jathura is present, Tandura is present in D. Also from the last statement, that is statement 9, Fatura was not present in A. That means Jakura, Jathura and Tandura were present in A. This is the current situation. Also, now we have to figure out among A and D who is the dominant animal. We know that in one jungle it should be Jathura, in other jungle it should be Fatura. Fine. As of now, we don't know that who is dominant from which jungle. We know that in jungle A, Tandura cannot be the dominant animal, Jathura cannot be the dominant animal because Jathura is already dominant from 2 jungles. So the only possibility for the dominant animal from jungle A is Jakura. Similarly, we can figure out that from jungle D, the only possibility for dominant animal is Fatura. Now we have our table ready with us. Fine. We'll move forward to questions. The first question says that which of the following statement is definitely true? The first statement, Jakura was the dominant animal of A. Yes, it is true. We can see it in the table. Next, Jathura was the dominant animal of B. Yes, Jathura is the dominant animal of B. Second statement is also true. We can see it in the table. Next, Jathura was the dominant animal of D. No, the third statement is false. Fatura was the dominant animal from D. So the last option is more than one of the above. We have seen that A and B were definitely true. So the correct choice is option D. Next, for how many jungles could the names of the animals present in them be determined uniquely? We know that we have all the animals for jungle A, jungle D, E, F and G. As of now, from the given information, we cannot determine which two animals were present in jungle B and C. That means one animal in each. So we can determine the name of animals in exactly 5 jungles, which is A, D, E, F and G. So the correct answer is option C. Now, which of the following animals was present in C but was not the dominant animal of it? C, we know that either Fatura or Jakura will be present, and they cannot be dominant as Jathura is the dominant animal. So the answer is cannot be determined. The number of jungles in which Tandura present was, this can be calculated as, look, there are 4 jungles in which there are 3 animals present. So in all 12 animals are present. There are 3 jungles in which 2 animals were present. So in all 6 animals were present. Altogether there are 18 animals. Now what are the possibilities? The possibilities are, we know that from statement 2, Jakura, Fatura and Jathura were present in same number of jungles. Fine. So they all these 3 animals could be present in 6 jungles or 5 jungles or 4 jungles and so on. Now we know that if all of them are present in 6 jungles, 6 into 3 will become 18, which is not possible, as Tandura we have already seen is present in at least 3 jungles. The next possibility is 5 jungles. If all these 3 animals are present in 5 jungles, it will give us 15 animals, and in 3 jungles we can have Tandura, it will give us 3 animals. The sum is 18, which is possible. The next possibility is all the 3 are present in 4 jungles. This will give a case 4 into 3, 12 animals, and 6 into 1, 6 animals. It is not possible as Tandura is not present in F and G. So if we go further this way, we will see that the other cases are not possible. The only possibility is Jakura, Fatura and Jathura should be present in 5 jungles and Tandura should be present in 3 jungles. From the table we have already identified the 3 jungles in which Tandura is present. So we can say that in B and C Tandura is not present. So we can say that Tandura was present in 3 jungles.
I hope that you have been brushing up on your grammar, because question number 62 was a sentence correction question, and you will see such questions pretty frequently in the mocks to come. The question read, given below are 4 sentences or parts of sentences that form a paragraph. Identify the sentences or parts of sentences that are incorrect in terms of grammar and usage. Now, line A of the question read, last night I attended this bash. Let me read the whole question for you. And there I saw Ryan's mom, whom he said was away. Well, it finally dawned on me that he had been fibbing to us all because he was living apart of his parents. Sentence B here is incorrect, since it should say Ryan's mom, who he said was away. Now, remember people that who and whom are often confused. While whom replaces the objective case pronouns him, her, them, etc. Right? Who is the subject or is the personal pronoun that should be used as a subject in this case. The correction in D should be living apart from his parents. Apart of is the incorrect preposition to be used here. Question number 63 was a parajumble question. It had 5 sentences which were jumbled up and you had to put them into sequence by choosing from the given options. The correct answer here was option C, which is BECAD. Now let me explain this question to you. The question, the text, the 5 sentences I should say, dealt with monarch butterflies and how they use the Earth's magnetic field lines to map out their destination. B and E, these 2 sentences form a mandatory pair. While B talks about the magnetic field that surrounds the Earth radiating out from the South Pole and re-entering the Earth from the North Pole, E follows it by describing what this all means. CAD also forms a sequence. How? While C talks about the experiment conducted by Reppert and his colleagues, A follows it because A talks about the implications of the observations from the experiment. D follows C and A because CA talks about what is known, or what is it that determines the movement of monarch butterflies, and D in contrast talks about what is not known, whether monarch butterflies know where they are in relation to their destination based on geomagnetic coordinates. So it's a contrast between what is known and what is not known. That is why there's a link between CA and D. BE should precede CAD, or BE should come before CAD, because BE talks about the general concept of the magnetic field around the earth. So obviously the general concept would come first, and then you would follow with CAD, which talks about a specific experiment based around this concept. So that is why the correct option here is option C. A close option here could have been option B, which is BCAED, but as I have already explained why BE should precede CAD, I hope you have got the answer then. Alright, let's move on to question number 64. One of my favorite questions, it was a word usage question. There was a word given, which was the word freeze, and there were 4 sentences which used the word freeze. There were different idiomatic expressions used in here in the sentences, and you had to figure out which one was the incorrect or inappropriate usage of the word. Now, the first option reads, standing at the lighthouse, I froze the picturesque scene in my memory, trying to make it part of the unforgettable moments one has in life. Now, the usage of the word freeze here, when he says that I froze, where the sentence reads that I froze the picturesque memory, to freeze a scene or picture in your memory means to remember it forever or keep it in your memory. Option B read, the company has frozen everyone's wages for the month, citing that the economy is predicted to go south. To freeze money or assets means to make them unavailable to someone. Option C was pretty easy to understand. It read, the pond freezes over in extreme winters and the 3 cousins often go skating over it. If a pond freezes over, we know that it means that its surface has become ice, which happens in cold places in winters. Option D is our answer, which we had to pick up as the incorrect or inappropriate usage, since it read, it's alright if she doesn't reply, because I'll wait for her answer till hell freezes up. Now the correct phrase here should be, till hell freezes over, not freezes up. This phrase, hell freezing over, means forever, since hell is believed to be a fiery place that will never freeze. Which also brings us to the next question, which is question number 65. Question 65 was again a fill-in-the-blank question with 2 blanks. Let me read out the question to you. It says, instead of the dash or blank, I thought was coming my way for having completed the project. My boss dashed my expectations with his dash or blank comments about my approach. Now, there were 4 options here. The first one was flattery and insensitive. The next one was fusillade and indecorous. Option C had the words adulation and disparaging. And option D had rebuke and sycophantic. The correct answer is option C. The completion of a project, we know, is a positive thing. So, it is obvious that the speaker was expecting something positive in return, maybe praise or a reward. This helps us to reject options D and B outright, since rebuke means sharp criticism and fusillade, which means volley or bombardment, do not fit the context. Also, flattery, the word used in option A, does not fit here, since one would not expect flattery, which is an insincere form of praise, for having successfully completed a project. The phrase dashed my expectations conveys that the speaker's hopes were not met, which means that instead of getting something positive, he got something which has a negative connotation. Having ruled out the other options, we can safely say that option C fits here. Adulation in this option means praise, while disparaging means derogatory or disapproving, which would go for the comments which he eventually got. Question number 66 was a really interesting question which combined ancient Greek mythology, the parable of Achilles, to a paradox, and this is why the question deals with the paradox of Achilles and the tortoise. Now, you had to find, this was a para completion question, and you had to find the one sentence that would continue as part of the paragraph. The correct answer in question number 66 is option C. It is the only statement which carries forward the theme of the passage, as it also talks of the paradox and whether Achilles will be able to overtake the tortoise or not. Option A speaks of mathematics and life in the wild, and hence loses the main thread of the text. Option B too is incorrect, as it is too vague and disconnected from the theme of the passage. Let me read option B for you. It says, obviously this proves that some infinities are bigger than other infinities. This is not connected to the theme of the passage. Probably reminds you of that book called The Fault in Our Stars. Anyway, let's move on. Option C can be negated option C is the correct answer. Option D can also be negated because it speaks of the hares which are not mentioned in the given paragraph at all. It talks of a tortoise, not a hare. It does not connect to the original story. And that is why, again, option C is the only statement which can be the answer here. Here are the options for you once again. Option C is the correct answer. Let's move on. The next question, which is question number 67. Question number 67 was again a parajumble question. It had 4 options and you had to choose which of the options is correct or is the correct sequence of the 5 given sentences. Now the correct option here is option B. Now let me explain this to you. CB is a mandatory pair here because C talks about a key requirement or what is needed for reciprocal altruism to happen, and B discusses what would be the best strategy otherwise, that means if reciprocal altruism did not happen. E follows C and B because this constraint, as you can see there in the option in E, refers to the constraint of the same 2 individuals interacting repeatedly instead of the host fish eating the cleaner fish at once, which was earlier discussed in C and B. E and D is a mandatory pair because D explains what the author means by spatial and temporal conditions which are discussed in E. A completes the sequence by talking about what actually happens, and hence the correct sequence is C, B, E, D, A, making answer option B the correct answer.